Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting of the Finance Committee, May 20th, 2024 to order. First on the agenda would be the approval of the April 15th minutes.
Motion.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next we'll move on to our new business discussions and presentations. First, photography request for proposal for the next 2 years.
Yeah, so we got a few, maybe like 4 items here that hopefully we can get through quickly and then get into the bulk of the meeting. Yeah. So we do an RFP every 3 years for photography services, so for class pictures, for sporting events when they come out and take pictures, like for the yearbook and those things. So it's up at the end of this year. Currently we're at Christmas City. So I have to thank Alexis because she has really taken the lead on this. It's kind of her area. So she realized it's not my area of expertise. So helped out and really took on the bulk of it. So it's out there. We're meeting with, we have 2 vendors that responded to the RFP. The next meeting is scheduled for next week. So just meeting them and kind of going through and understanding their proposals. We can't update you with a recommendation yet because we're sort of not done with the whole process yet, but we do expect to have one on June 20th. She's really taking a lead going through sort of clarifying questions in their proposals and everything. So we'll definitely vet that out and come to the board with a recommendation. That's the plan right now. If you have, so we can report out to the Finance Committee at our next meeting, give you sort of what that recommendation will be for the board before we go on approval on the 20th.
Who are the 2 who responded?
So Christmas City
Mm-hmm.
and Barksdale.
Okay.
Actually, we did have a third, I'm sorry. We did have a third, CADY, but they only do high school.
Yeah.
So we're still kind of thinking about them.
What have we been paying for the past few years?
So we don't pay anything. But it's the packages is the price that they set for when parents want to purchase the pictures. So there's a whole bunch of other little perks that they put in there. They basically, they're making money off of selling those packages to the parents. So we don't pay. Now we do have a printer, and I don't actually know if it was given to us or if we had to buy it when we first started with Christmas City. But we have a printer in there for badges, like for new hires when they come in, so we can give them a badge. That came from them. We purchased the ribbon for that printer. So that's about the only thing I think that we spend any money on with them.
And if we don't go with Christmas City, do they take that back, or we own that now? Or
That's what we have to find out if we
Okay.
purchase it outright or if they're just lending it
Right.
to us.
And or maintenance or.
It's also really old, so
Oh.
I'm not sure it's
Yeah, I was going
any
to say
benefit.
that at this point, it's probably easily to replace that.
So that's also in these proposals. So if we were to change, we would also be looking for
Okay.
get that replaced.
Have you had complaints about Christmas City?
I've heard complaints.
Significant?
Not
complaints,
significant.
not
I've
just-
heard complaints and I've heard compliments.
Okay.
So it's, but this is why we're meeting with them also, so that if there was a complaint, we're discussing it with them and figuring out how do we fix this moving forward so that we don't have these complaints in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Moving along.
So, the electricity bids. So I think I did speak up at our last, was it the workshop or I can't remember what meeting it was.
Yeah.
So the bids went out, they were rejected because they were 15 to 20% higher than what was expected by our, by Provident Energy, which is, sort of runs that consortium of buying group. It is for the 25-26 year, so we have time. So their idea was reject these, we'll send it out again when it seems like the market is in a little bit of a better place. So we're locked up for next year with our electric rate. So there's really no rush, but that's just the update.
Okay, to be continued.
Yep.
Okay.
So with that same group is the natural gas bids. So those are going out, and it's the same scenario that we talked about. So bids are gonna come back. They're gonna need a signature prior to our next finance meeting. So kind of what we did with electricity was this committee said, yeah, Drew, you're okay to sign off if it's a recommendation from Provident that the rates are good, that they're happy with them, and then report back out to the finance committee what those rates are. I would just like to ask if that's continued guidance for the natural gas bids.
I'm fine with it.
Yep.
I think it's June 5th and June 6th is when they're going to need a signature. So plenty of time to report back out at our next finance meeting.
Okay. And that's Provident as well?
That's probably as well. I'm not sure if electricity was too high. I don't know if that means natural gas is going to come back the same way or.
Is that for the same year?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're still ahead of the game?
Yeah, we are. So there's still time if they need to correct. If they need to reject these, we still have time for natural gas.
Okay. Perfect.
Diesel fuel. So we have not locked in for next year on our fuel. If we don't lock in, we're floating. So I have, real quick, I printed out an email here. So as of April 4th, I'll start with diesel. April 4th, the price for diesel was $2.77. May 15th, it's $2.54, so it's dropped 23 cents.
Wow.
So when I talked to Jen, Jen Malone, our transportation director, she would love to see that under 250, and then she thinks we're golden with the budget for next year. We're probably okay in total because gasoline dropped from $2.34 at the beginning of April. It's now $2.19 as of May 15th. So we pay it before taxes, if you're looking at me with that look like. That's
Yeah.
the
No, we're not
price.
paying for it, damn it.
So gas has dropped 15 cents and diesel has dropped 23 cents since the beginning of April. So I was at a business manager meeting 2 Fridays ago, and they had, maybe it wasn't 2 Fridays ago, it was a virtual meeting. We had the vendors on there, and they said, you should lock it up as soon as possible, because the prices have come down, and they kept saying, we have no idea what's going to happen geopolitically. I don't even want to say some of the other things that could drop, that could make the prices go through the roof. I haven't gotten the latest update because I'm a little concerned about what happened, was it yesterday, with Iran? I just don't know if something like that is going to make these prices fluctuate. So I would like to get your blessing, if you think so, to sort of lock in as soon as possible once we hit under that 250. I need to talk to Jen because I think with diesel that close to 250 and gas that far under 250, I think between the two of them, I think we're okay if we were just to lock in with those rates.
Okay.
Obviously,
What
that's
were the
not,
prices again?
I'm sorry?
What were the two prices again? Diesel and gas?
Diesel was
277.
277 was in April. It's now, or as of May 15th, it's 254,
All right.
and gas was 219.
Yeah, I personally would lock in soon.
That's
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's, I mean, watching our consumer gas prices fluctuate so much over the past 2 months, I mean, you know, 279, I think was the price today that I saw.
Oh, okay.
So, depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top of
Even
hill.
diesel, I've seen it at 279, my husband has diesel, so,
Yeah.
but he paid like 319. He's like, well, look,
Mhm. But
I did
with
that.
everything that's going on nationally, internationally, yeah,
Yeah.
I think you'd be wise locking in soon.
Yep, I'm good with that. Katrina?
I'm good with that. I just want to clarify, the diesel is, we're talking about the buses, right? Hopefully, that's not a stupid question. We're not using diesel to power other
Do we have some trucks that
significant
are?
things,
I
or,
don't think so. You know, I don't think our trucks are
If we do or
diesel.
not.
I was just curious.
Just Alan's private jet.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Oh,
That's JP5, so that's a different category.
But that's fine, but he deserves it.
Yeah, we're
It's-
good.
It's fine. I'm fine with that.
I do believe most of our trucks in the maintenance department.
He's gone.
Yeah, I know, I was
Right.
looking for him to.
That's not
Yeah.
gonna be
Um,
hugely
right,
significant
right.
though, but okay.
Yeah, the bulk of it is
We
that.
have, we have a couple generators around which
That's
probably
true,
run
yeah.
diesel.
Yeah.
And it would only be in an emergency, or do
Right,
they
because
don't
of
run
emergency.
continually?
Emergency.
Okay, okay, that was
Okay,
it.
so go ahead, you have our
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah, I think it's probably prudent to try to lock those in.
Seems like a good time, but
Yeah, because especially since we're getting near holidays and stuff, and it's gonna,
yeah,
summer.
that's the concern. Right around Memorial Day is the price going to go up?
Everything
right
goes
now,
up,
so.
yeah.
I know, it's a little bit of a gamble, but like with what's been happening, coming down, I think is probably,
Well, traditionally, always around the holidays, the price spikes
Yeah.
like 5
Yeah.
to 10 cents.
Yep.
So you'll see it this month, you'll see
well,
it
what are we
next
locked in for, a
month.
year?
So we would lock in, basically for the year, the expected gallons that we would use. So we would lock in.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
But I think our goal would be to keep it under budget. So if all of a sudden I get the rates in 3 or 4 days from now and they spiked, I think we're gonna have to hold off and just sort of ride that wave.
And we did that one year, we did half of the diesel, and then we
Right,
did
I heard
another
that.
half
Okay,
at a later time.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, that's
I'm
good.
good.
I think before I would do that though, I would talk to you guys in
Yeah.
June before we, if everything blows up here, we're gonna hold off and then we'll talk in June to figure out a better
Yeah, fair.
solution for the summer.
Okay.
Okay. All right. This packet goes with letter E?
This packet goes with letter E, correct?
Just making sure.
Yeah, so these 4 revenue line items, I like to really take a look at in the month of May because you've gone through 10 out of 12 months so far. And so what I'm doing here with all of these, including the total expenditures when we look at that one, what's not on screen here is another 15 columns that has the prior 5 years, and I'm taking an average. So if you see that 6.23% right up
Yep.
here, that is a 5-year average of what's collected in the month of July.
Got it.
This is a bad example because May and June, this is the current real estate taxes. Current real estate taxes, we're basically done. You can see that in December, and after that it's really refunds. That's why there's a bunch of negatives in there. Well, that's not why there's a bunch of negatives in this column. Yeah, that would be refunds that we've issued for changes in property. But what I'm doing here is trying to project out where we're gonna finish the year, and that's the bottom box down here. So the budget was 40.5 million. I'm projecting 40.8 million in revenue. And that's an overage of almost $278,000. So that supports why I bumped up the collection rate in the budget from 97 to 98. So that's where that sort of comes from. So this one is the real estate transfer tax. So housing market, properties that are sold. This one you can see, just to show you the $42,834, that's a projection of what we're going to receive in May based on the 6.58% 5-year average. So that's where anything highlighted in green is a projection. So this one we're looking at actually being under budget, not receiving as much revenue as was budgeted by $93,000. And that is why the budget for next year was reduced from 800,000 basically to 700,000. So that's where that is coming from, that change. And we can always go back or just stop me if there's other questions, but.
Where are those changes showing up?
So that was on the presentation, and I can pull
This-
it up here. Yes.
Okay.
In one of those slides, the revenue for the local revenues.
Yeah.
So this
We'll
is,
recap this on a later slide.
I have it pulled up here, I can pull it up if we
Okay.
want to look at it, sure, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting
So-
excited.
You do the best presentations.
Yeah, you're, but these aren't changes since you presented this?
No.
No.
No, these are in support of the changes that were in that last presentation.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to look at this and saying, is there further adjustment, or does it kind of look like we're right on? Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
So this one is delinquent real estate taxes. Again, I'm looking at using the 5-year average, that we would be over budget by almost $102,000. So delinquents were increased. That was increased from 760,000 up to 831,000. At the time, I was looking at the liens from 2023 and thinking those had increased, so this was going to go up, but it looks like we've also collected more this year without even that increase in liens. So I'm not sure that this needs to go up anymore, but it does support sort of the increase that was in the budget already. Earned income tax, so this one in the budget, I had increased from 4.2 million to 4.5 million. And looking at the projection for this year, it looks like we're going to be over by $305,000. So,
Which justifies.
which
your
sort of
projected-
justifies that increase, yeah.
Yeah.
And I track this monthly, so I'm looking at this when I put those revenues in there. It's just now we're further into the year, it hasn't fluctuated greatly from when I looked at that. Okay, so that's those four major revenue line items. And then a very similar process in expenditures for this year. So this would be the one that has three cells highlighted in yellow and then 3 cells highlighted in green. The yellow is the projected expenditures and as of that date in that box. So the first box is as of the end of February. So as I'm tracking this every month, in February, that's what I calculated. At the end of March, that's what I calculated. At the end of April. So each one of those in yellow is projecting our expenditures in total for this year. And then the green is what is budgeted. So we have budgeted $73.5 million in expenditures. And as of February 29th, I was projecting $75 million in expenditures. So we would be overspending the expenditure budget. And as we get further through April, it looks even worse.
Oh, goody.
So,
Bradley, you don't need this picture.
Yeah, don't take that.
how do you tell me
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought we weren't allowed to go over.
So you're not. What I've
Do
been
we
told.
go to jail?
No.
No.
So, from what I understand from our auditors years in the past, you cannot overspend your budget or expend your budget. Let me see how. So debt service is excluded from that. So we budget for our debt service. So you're legally allowed to transfer from your debt service to cover that overage, and then you're allowed to go over in debt service. That doesn't count towards your total.
You just
expense.
move the numbers around, basically.
We're shifting budget expenditures from debt service into the other operating expenditures.
Where does debt service come from?
So we budget for it, so it's coming out of the general fund. It's just when the state looks at this and says, did you overspend your budget? If you move from debt service into the other functions,
I understand.
they won't slap you on the wrist for that.
So we have, what, 9 million in our capital reserve?
So we have-
5 million in the
The
In
debt
our-
service line.
thank you.
Yes, 5 point, yeah, so it's over 5 million in debt service, but the capital reserve that's a whole separate fund where money just kind of sits in there.
All right.
So the only thing I'd say is that it looks like $79 million in expenditures. Well, I sort of ruined the surprise, but so when I was presenting it, it was almost $81 million in expenditures. But some of that looks like it's probably catch-up here from this year. That's the only thing that I can
Okay.
sort of semi-justify the large increase in expenditures. There's really nothing, I'm not really sure what else to say with this. It's not good, but I think we're fixing this.
Yep, so, and last year's expenditures would have included the 5 million we transferred into capital?
Yes. Yeah.
So technically, we shouldn't have transferred $5 million into capital, and then we would have been, okay.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think, so that added to the expenditures, but you did not overspend your budget last year.
Right, oh, that's right.
So
That's right.
that was okay. Even with that transfer, it was fine.
Okay.
And I think that 5 million is going to be put to good use
Oh,
moving
yeah.
forward.
Oh, yeah, we need it.
From all the capital projects that we
We
have.
do.
So to put that in simple terms, 22, 23, we had 5 million left over, we put it somewhere, and now we're like, shucks, I wish we had just put it into our, that's kind of what you were saying?
Well,
Not shucks,
sort of, but not really, yeah.
It
I'm
seems
just
like-
saying that we had, our surplus wasn't 5 million. It was 3? Around
Yes, yeah, roughly, yeah.
Right.
If you look at it as one large account, it's savings,
Yeah,
whether it's capital
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So we transferred 3.5 million last year, well, 5 million total, because we were 3.5 over into savings, and we're simply transferring, we will end up transferring from savings over to expenditures to balance it this year.
Gotcha. And in looking at our budget, we thought we had 2 million more to add to that to move over.
To really simplify it, we transferred money into our savings, we're transferring it back into our checking account
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
birthday.
I do it every month, yeah.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
issue.
So just to break it down real
I
simple.
guess I needed that. Okay, so I understand.
And what I failed to mention was to put out my 14 caveats here. This is a projection. A projection.
Projection, Bradley, note to self.
This is a projection. Things change. Every month you can see it change.
Right,
So this is a projection.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right. So I don't really have anything for the interest revenue, but I did sit through a meeting with the business managers in the county, and we had somebody come from PISLAF, one of the investment trusts that, I don't know that we use them much anymore, but we have used them.
Yeah.
We still have an
And
account there.
we have two.
We have 2 accounts there. So he came and started talking about the Fed and the future and all this with the interest rates. So they're talking about sort of later in this upcoming fiscal year where it sounds like the Fed is going to start reducing rates. And that's going to directly affect our interest revenue
Yeah, in the wrong way.
in the wrong way. So here's sort of the dilemma. We're going to finish this year probably about 1.1, maybe $1.2 million in interest earnings. We have budgeted $782,000. So we're going to have a huge surplus there. If they don't start reducing the rates, the Fed rates, until later in this upcoming fiscal year, I have, what do I have? $700,000 budgeted in revenue for interest for next year.
But if it doesn't go, the rates don't go down.
If the rates don't go down that much, we're again going to be over budget in the revenue. But I think the rates are going to keep dropping. So we could go like this, and then we're just going to have to keep, so we could increase it in 1 year, and then it's going to just drop off in the next year. So in 25, 26, if we would budget $1 million, we'd have to bring that down to 850,000. So there is going to kind of be this up and down. I'm happy to increase the interest revenue line item if the committee wants me to. 700 is I'm sure it's going to be too low. But I also see this up and then this down, and that could be,
I don't think it's gonna, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think that's too low. Like, I think that's just conservative.
well,
And I
yeah,
think that's fine.
right. If we wanted to get aggressive,
Yep,
we would go up from that 700 up to,
Yeah.
pick a number.
right,
Because we really don't know. But you're right, 700 is conservative.
yep.
And
We
we
would be
would
happy.
do that to help our budget even out.
A
So
1 year help.
Yep.
And then next year it's
It
going to be.
doesn't really do much though.
Right.
No,
It's just to
it's a
look
quarter
good.
of a percent
So
or 0.5% of tax increase, basically. 400,000.
Yeah, I mean, if you start talking about multi-year budgeting, it probably doesn't make sense to go up and then go right back down.
Yeah.
But an increase would help the 1 year snapshot budget of next year. So,
I'd rather remain on the conservative side here.
Yeah, me too.
good. All right.
Again, related to what we're doing with the gas prices, we don't know what's going to happen nationally, internationally over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
I'd rather just say, okay, we're not balancing our budget, and maybe we will. That's, I mean, literally, that's the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
making sure.
I mean, I can see the advantage to increasing it for next year, but I can't get past it. That just seems a little short-sighted in the long run,
I agree.
because there's just going to be a cut in 25, 26. That's going to be
Yeah,
difficult.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so I wanted to put the bullet here under the 24, so moving on to item F, the
Yep.
24-25, final budget review, just a Western Center. I think it's, and I'm sure Keith can talk better than anybody, but not knowing months ago what to put in there, I put in a $260,000 increase. And it sounds like all in what is being discussed, if the largest possible budget is passed over there, it would be a $320,000 increase for us.
So total all in at the Western Center for us is what, 3 point something million?
Yeah, 3.3.
Yeah, it was like 3.2 or something, if I remember correctly. To speak to what Drew was saying, at our last meeting earlier this month, we did not pass a budget. Springford does not want to go all in like we did, Pottsboro does not want to go all in like we did.
Pottsboro doesn't want to go clean at all.
Yes.
Springford was all,
I was leading into
Springford
that.
was in plus security.
Security.
So that's like another.
Pottsgrove had already decided their budget before we had the budget at the JOC, our budget recommendations from the JOC, because this year with changeover of personnel and some other things going on at the Western Center over the past year to 18 months, they were late in getting us the budget. They
Step
normally
away,
get it to us in
Superintendent Rick
February or
falls
March.
Yeah, right?
Falls apart, that's the way Superintendent
Yeah.
Records falls apart.
Exactly.
Well, you said you didn't want to do it anymore. You
No, listen, my time was
you were
up.
having too much fun.
My time was up. I did
So
my
your
time.
wife was jealous of you being out another night out of the
Another
week.
night, yep.
So,
She wishes I was back in.
that can be arranged. Careful what you wish for. But, due to the budget issues with the other districts, they're going to be meeting. They both have 2 meetings since our last JOC meeting, the first Monday of this month. I asked them to email us, myself and the directors and the superintendents, as to what happens at those meetings regarding their budgets, so we can put something together for
So the June, is it June
JOC.
7th? Is it June 7th JOC?
Yes,
Right, so there you guys will be voting to finalize the budget.
right.
Our question was, it doesn't sound like we're going all in, all in. So at 260, we were thinking we may have had to add another 60,000.
Right,
Doesn't seem like we're going to do that. We actually could potentially go down.
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
go down to 210, let's say,
Yeah.
above what we're already putting in.
I would suggest that we cut something down to like 260 is, Alan was
260 is
saying.
what it's in, yeah.
260,
That's what's in
the
it.
regular budget from last year plus 260,000 was the increase, and we have the biggest increase because we have the most kids.
Mhm.
The question was, that we didn't know if we were going to have to add more, which it doesn't sound like that, but maybe we can, and we have numbers to know what that amount is. I don't know if we have it in front of us, but
I don't.
but we don't have to make that decision now, but if we're comfortable going back to maybe the
We know
most of what
something like
Springford was, the 50,000,
Right.
we could shave that, again, I'll make numbers up right now, 260 down to 210, 200 above what we have. That would be a little savings and probably more realistic.
Yep.
Again, so that would be something we can work on between, well, after this meeting today, we have, the JOC will happen, we can drop that number in, and then we'll have our next policy meeting before we actually vote. So
Yeah.
it'll be, again, it's a small amount, but it's definitely something to be accurate.
Sure, if we can be, then it's
Yeah.
fine, just so we know it's an item to watch.
Right.
We're gonna have something for Drew in the first week of June as to what the other districts want to do, and we can adjust these numbers then. But right off the bat, I mean, the most that we were going to do was 320, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I would drop that.
Which doesn't sound like much, but it's still like a 10% raise of what if we're paying 3.2 million, and now we're adding 320,000, that's a 10%
Mhm.
increase,
Yeah,
which I think is what people, they focus on, like, we're talking here under 5% increase, but down there, for us, it's a 10%. For Pottsgrove, it was maybe 2 point something, because they're all on a small amount,
Yes.
so.
okay. All right,
It's
we'll
economies.
figure out for that one.
So we're probably gonna have a reduction there.
Yeah.
We just, I mean, I'll pull up the numbers here in a little while to see what that projection was.
Okay.
All right, so just a couple of quick spreadsheets here, just to show you what the work that's sort of going on since our last meeting. So those items that are sort of grayed out on the spreadsheet are new. So I would say
Oh, gotcha.
from that 383 down to the 3,700. So from that 383 down to this 3,700. So as I talked about, Dr. Roche sort of set up a line-by-line review, and we had every administrator come in, went through every budget, and those are the reductions that we were able to find. The largest one right there is salaries. So, in really digging through those, the budget that I used to sort of build those salaries, Dr. Roche and Dr. Farina were like, oh, well, that person's an LTS, so we have the LTS and we have the regular position. So that was really helpful for me, because I don't know the people,
That's
so.
not your part. Yeah, that's not your part.
So, yeah.
So
So,
counting twice almost.
yeah. So that's the majority of those salary reductions, and then you can see just every other line item there that we went through and were able to reduce. And not much has changed there on the revenue. What I needed to do on the revenue, just so that we can have a conversation about the budget moving forward, was I backed out that 5% millage increase that was put in for the proposed final budget.
Okay.
So then this next page, so this is our expenditures and our revenue. The middle column there, probably shouldn't say proposed final budget, but that's where we are right now, right after that proposed final budget. So that takes out the 5% millage increase. So this right here is sitting at a 0% millage increase. And that was kind of set up so that we could sort of talk about possible scenarios. But before we get into that, I think Dr. Roche has the next page.
So this is the new staffing piece. So again, as you saw the previous slide of the department by department scratching, so to speak, one of those I'll talk about in here. This was the staffing request. It's been addressed or redefined a little bit. You'll see the 2 3s at the bottom are no longer there. One of them has been addressed above in that 2 classroom teacher piece, and the building tech will be moved to a future year. I'll take it from the top to the bottom, happy to answer questions. So those the 4 priority ones there, ESL teacher, that has to do with the number of increased ELL students that we've come in, although the number of total students is not huge. I'm going to use a general number, 35, 40. There are across all of our schools, so we only have 2 staff members. So we really feel this is an area that continues to grow, and we wanted to add a staff member there so that we could have better coverage and supply them with the supports that are required as part of that, which is why it's a priority 1. Speech therapist, currently 3 district-wide. They have a maximum caseload. This would add a 4th, and it would help them to be able to support our low-incidence students at all levels. And they also have a certain amount of time, so they may have students that are in the low-incidence classrooms have time with their teacher, and then we also have speech-only students. They may have a 30-minute session once a cycle, 30, consult type of thing. So the need there is to be in compliance, as well as there is not a great pot of supports when someone goes out, someone may leave, or maternity leave, and we're paying a super premium if we can find someone through the IU. So kind of fortifying that department. School psychologists, similar. There's 4 psychologists. Adding the 5th would, our psychologists are above. There's no caseload, but the number of students that they're seeing each year, some of them tip over 100 in terms of the testing, and then the RRs that is tied to child fine. So it's a compliance and helps to reduce settlements, as Dr. Farina reminded me, in terms of staying within that piece. But there was another area that continues to grow with the amount of testing that's there.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Your RRs?
The review of records.
Okay.
They're required every.
Thank you.
Yep, that's fine. They're required every so often. Often what happens is at the middle you do a review of records without testing, and then they can kind of do that once, and then another 2 or 3 years later they have to do another round of testing. So.
Okay, and one more question.
Yep.
Low incidence students for the speech therapists?
Yep, so we have students that are special ed students that are in the low incident classroom. So you would, Mrs. Willett students, some of the other students that struggle with speech as well as with cognitive ability in the classroom. So they have speech, they're more frequently in there with their speech teacher.
Okay.
And then there's other students that are speech-only students. So it would be just having a speech issue, not a cognitive issue academically or IQ type of thing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
The 2 classroom teachers, so one is specifically 3rd grade Hereford. That group is coming through. They're a larger group. The 3rd grade is the only grade at Hereford which has 4 classroom teachers as opposed to 5, and the group that's coming up does support the numbers. They've had 5 the whole way through. So we saw this pipeline coming of needing that group. Having them have a 4 teachers as opposed to 5 would put class size in that 25 range, which is slightly above where everybody else is. So that's what that piece is. And then the other classroom teacher, which I initially had at 4-5 and a similar issue, is to move up that other piece of coaching. So right now we have a 0.5 coach for, it's 0.5 coaching and 0.5 gifted. And quite frankly, the gifted numbers there are pushing the 20 piece. So that's push-in, that's also pull-out. That there's really very little, if any, coaching going on. So that was to support that teacher would actually, that position would create a full-time gifted person there, as well as a full-time coach at 4-5. And there are full-time coaches at Hereford and Marlboro already to support that. Moving into
Can I
the,
ask you a question?
yep.
Back to the the classroom teachers.
Mhm.
So if third grade now needs one extra teacher, what happened that second grade doesn't need one?
They already had them there, like we probably cut one at a time where a smaller group was moving up.
Okay.
So it's not like they've always had 5, they keep 5. That gets examined every retirement, every opportunity, and every year. So if it, like, Mr. Freeze will tell you that he is banging on my door on July 15th. He's like, there's more kindergartners coming. I go, I don't see the numbers.
Right.
I have to have numbers to add that kindergarten class, when we have that. So
Okay.
this is,
I'm
so
just
it's, we're not gonna have a class size of 12 because Hereford's
had
always had
5.
6, right, or whatever the number is,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
Yep.
And I had a little comment about the instructional coaches, just because I was talking to Kim over the weekend. Like, you have the TLS coaching, and then you have some in-house coaches, and it's good to have coaches. I was just curious, I know she's saying that one of the coaches also has been taking the caseload of ELL, so I didn't know if there was a way to finagle, like, making, because
That's
I'm
at
assuming that
that's at the
teacher's
middle
sort of-
school, and that is being addressed by that
Oh.
ESL teacher. The top one there will put a full-time ESL teacher at the high school, and
Yeah.
then one between the middle school and one of the elementaries and the other 2 elementaries.
Oh.
So that issue that you're talking about would be addressed with that ESL.
Oh, so that's kind of being considered
Yep.
in this scenario?
Yeah, at that top one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I ask you one more
Yeah,
question?
anything, yeah.
Sorry.
No?
So, those classroom teachers, I see all of these, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5
Mhm.
positions. They're all then at the top, masters plus 30.
No,
And-
we budget, any new positions, we budget at master's step 5. It's a ballpark. Now, when you see the agenda next Thursday, this coming Thursday, you're going to see a first-year teacher hired, first-year bachelor's, first year. And then you may see a master's plus 30, step 2, and the numbers, so it's a ballpark figure that they've used here for a period of time for budgeting purposes.
Okay.
We also budget everyone on this list for full family benefits.
Right.
We know they're not all
Yeah,
taking full
no,
family,
yeah.
but how do we do, that's part of the budget.
Yeah, obviously,
Right.
I'd rather be hired than
Yep,
lower.
yep.
Okay.
Actually, that's the question I was going to ask next.
So you're looking at an all-in cost here.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
that's the
un-
only cost, but,
Yeah.
I was going to question what step they're coming in.
Yeah, master step 5 is what has been traditionally budgeted here.
And hopefully the mix will
Mhm.
average it out.
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly, yep. So also in there is what, FICA, retirement, family medical, and then prescription is all
Yep.
included in that.
Okay.
So moving on to the 2s is the college and career coordinator and the MTS coordinator / instructional coach, because the high school didn't have that position as well. Those 2 positions are ones, as you know, were ESSER funded last year. We knew that going in and knew that we wanted to see if they would bore themselves out for requests. These are not compliance positions, but you have seen the work that college and career, having someone that's, of our 3 counselors that are there, now one that is 4th is additional for the college and career pieces. And then on the MTSS, whether it's TSI or it's the other work that's being done, that has been tremendous to begin to change the culture there with some of those conversations and the information that I know Mr. Flanagan recently shared with you.
Yeah.
2 district nurses, this is where, if we were to go back, you see on my note there, 40,000 actual increase. So you saw a decrease in one of those people services numbers. That was to reduce contract nurses. So it's really, even though, yes, it says 177, I'm not saying it's not, it's really 40,000 in new money that we're shifting from contracted nursing services. It's been reduced over there, so this is new dollars, but it really is a total of $40,000 sweep. And it creates our nursing department now having 3 CSNs, high school, middle school, Hereford, 2 staff nurses, Marlboro, 4 or 5, 2 additional nurses, that the ones that are here right now, that are on this table here. They continue to have the 1 contract nurse, I think, for a specific student through GHR, one of those. And then we have a part-time nurse, 20 hours a week, that's been in the budget for on here to assist with when we get screenings and those times of the year to fill in. So this will fortify the nursing department again. We're all within code there for our compliance
Yeah, I
with our
remember us being
CSNs.
not in compliance for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, with the CSNs.
Yeah.
Mhm. Also, you have to remember, often a nurse is required for a field trip.
Yeah.
So having a little more there is flexible. I know we're going around like crazy trying to find, and again, you're paying super top dollar when you have to call and get someone in at the last minute.
Yeah, it's just like using any employment agency.
And the next 2 was a request here or a need for an additional special education supervisor, so in that department, Dr. Farina, then Mrs. Giblin, who's the Director of Special Education, and then there's Mrs. Quill. So this is one that was thought to be placed specifically at the high school to address some of the high school pieces there, TSI, compliance, and support services. I know it's tough, it's another administrator, but that work and that workload is continuing to increase on the compliance sense, and the more we can continue to address those issues, the better. Mr. Howard has requested, as well as the previous director, a maintenance supervisor, so additional person to support and supervision of the maintenance work. The demands continue with our facilities, and I think if you remember back with Mr. Kenwood, there was a request at some point. This one's been on there for a couple of years. At one point, it was only a stipend of some sort. This would be an additional person as a part of that. And then finally, the only three that we left there was this request from Mrs. Stevens for an additional 15 minutes a day for all the cafeteria staff. It helps with the scheduling of what she's trying to get accomplished with her lunches. Not everything just works in a 2-hour block, so there's time in between, and this would help her match the time frame that is going on at her for that piece. So, and then that's very minimal in terms of the dollars and cents there. So we're bringing this to you at this point. It's reduced by $182,000 from some of those cuts, and we actually found that one bubble in there for something on one of the benefits was off by a little bit. So that's where that piece is in terms of the staffing.
Okay, so this was just trying to build scenarios here for you.
Thank you.
So again, this is, we backed out the 5% millage increase that was in the proposed final, just so that you can take a look at some of these numbers here. That middle box on the top is, as we just talked about, that's a 0. Scenario A is a 5% millage increase. You would be looking, here's your additional almost $2 million in revenue, and then a $2.4 million use of fund balance to balance the budget. The next box is,
Have we not talked about the money that potentially is coming from the state?
It's
oh,
not in there.
you're right.
Correct. I'm surprised you guys haven't heard about it. I was at the chamber luncheon the other day with Senator Penny Cook and Representative McKenzie. They were confirming to everyone how much money we're all getting. And I was like, hold on a second, hold on. You can't, definitely getting an increase, but you just said your budget wasn't done until September.
Yeah.
How do we budget that? Like, I wasn't being rude, I was just answering the question.
Yeah.
And, we're definitely getting money, but I don't mean, so what was supposedly around 400,000?
That would be if the governor got all in what he proposed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again,
Yeah.
that's the conversation. You could add 100, 200, I mean, any of those
Right.
numbers, or continue to go without, and then it's all windfall, so.
Yeah, and then it would sort of chip away at that, that fund balance use. It would be less fund balance actually used if the state does put more money into our basic ed subsidy and our special ed subsidy.
So essentially, for an example, at the 5.0 millage increase, if we received the additional 400, we'd be able to drop that to 2 million.
Right. And this could be, I mean, obviously, as Dr. Roach just said, it's going to happen after,
Yeah.
because.
So they already told us to buckle up for the summer, and we'll see in September, but the
Yeah.
thing for the budget, I mean, from the state, it's just not, it's one of those years that everyone knows when the new governor comes in,
It's gonna take a while.
it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. So even though both the state and local districts have a June 30 deadline to pass a budget, we actually abide by that, and others choose not to. But, so that would come in afterwards, you're right, so we'd have to pass this budget, but then it's really not a 2.4 million anymore, it's really 2, because the state kicked in more money, it just came in after the fact.
Realistically, it'll probably be 2.2.
Right. 200,000, yeah.
Can you answer one thing?
Absolutely.
Can you, like, I know at the 5.0%, thank you Bradley for putting in the paper, that's a 7 point. Can you give us those actual percents?
I can.
I
So,
figured you could.
yeah, the 7.3 is correct. I'm gonna have to pull up a different
Sorry.
section, so let me just get through.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay, well, I'll get there. So, there's A and B, and we have a C and a D. C was a 3.9%. I think there was some discussion at our last finance about that number, maybe, but I think 3.5 was also thrown out. So there's your 3.9 and 3.5.
Okay.
What was it last year? 3.5?
Was it 2.6?
It was a lot more than I wanted it to be.
I can.
No, I think it was 3 something.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 something.
Was it?
5 or 6.
Because I was.
Maybe 3.6.
So anyway, that's the last of it. I will go and get you those percentages.
Okay.
3.6. Our taxpayers don't want to hear this.
No, I know. Well, it's just that it was posed in the highest percent possible. Thank you, Bradley.
Yeah.
That was on.
It was yes, it was. No doubt I'm going to say that too.
So, yeah, so I don't know that we have to make a decision now, because we are gonna have that finance meeting in June prior to, June 20th.
Are we voting on this Thursday?
No.
We're
No.
not.
We did the preliminary last time.
Okay,
So we have 30 days because it has to be advertised.
okay.
So that whatever, June 20th.
So
June
everyone
20th.
can yell at us.
Yeah.
You gotta have 30 days
30 days
of,
to yell at us.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
Cool, that's all you get.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then we
So we had to have that on paper,
okay,
so we will make the final decision the 20th
okay. So we have,
June, and we can say, we might end up with 4.5 or 3.9 or
3.5.
maybe something in between, who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
But at our next meeting, Drew and the administration are still going to be working on this and hopefully get some more numbers and keep pulling it down a little bit. It'll take away a little bit from the Western Center budget between now and then, which
Definitely
will
a little bit.
be a small decrease.
we're talking like 50,000 maybe,
Yeah.
50 to 100 max.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
lot.
I'm
Not a
thinking
lot.
probably about 60 if I remember the numbers correctly.
Okay, so not really a dead income.
No,
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 but-
Did you go over all those numbers?
Here and there,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
So a 4.5% millage increase would be a 6.83%.
Okay.
3.9 would be 6.2.
Okay.
3.5 would be 5.8.
Still all ugly.
What's the average increase per household?
Do you want the median or do you want the average?
No, average.
No, I'm kidding, you don't have.
And
to
thank you
tell us
again for doing that.
Could you function more like Siri? We appreciate just,
Yeah,
you just give us numbers immediately.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, for sure.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat that or did you put that away?
No, I can,
From you, village?
3.9?
For 5.0?
5.0 is 7.3,
that was a 7.
Oh, okay, and then 4.5?
6.83.
Okay, and then I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, I guess what we should be talking, unless you have questions about that part of it so far, what we need to talk about, I think, is the recommendations for our staff. Do we want to change any of that? I mean, again, I already said about the instructional coach, MTS, or the college and career coordinator. I was all in for that. I thought she made a big difference.
I watched the meeting, I wasn't at that one, and I love it, but I feel like it's sort of a luxury in my mind. I love it, I do, I want those things, but I do, looking at this, it feels like a luxury. So that's my.
Okay, well, the only thing that, just to put my perspective on it, so all of our artifacts, so what she's doing over and above is, helps with all of the artifacts so that the kids have other pathways for graduation. That's where I'm going with that,
Yeah.
because I think that
I
was
don't have
really
any
important.
problem with the validity of what's
Yeah, I know.
happening, it just,
I know.
if I had to, it's, to me, that's a little lower on the priority list that's here.
Yep, I got you.
Everything
Okay.
is a priority, but if I had to choose.
Okay. Then there's those cafeteria assistants, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm
With
kidding.
that amount being so low, and it is, Dr. Roach, does that potentially, I mean, that speaks to like, issues in the CAF, they're trying to
mitigate some of that,
Yeah.
and probably mitigating some
It's
of the
15
staff
minutes a day,
members
it's
who
a
have to
15 minutes,
stay.
it's 15 minutes a day per person.
Yeah.
I'm
I know.
fine,
Yeah.
that
I am too, I was only
seems
kidding.
wonderful, so
I'm only kidding.
and that's a little amount to probably really solve something that's been a bugger. If this
For
is on
15
here,
minutes a day, yeah, really.
they need it.
Yeah.
I agree with putting 2 nurses, that
Yeah, that does.
seems necessary.
I just wondered if we had any discussion on, I mean, I'd like to give them everything.
I would too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually okay with the MTSS for the high school because that's where our damn problem is.
Yep.
And that should have been recognized, my personal opinion should have been recognized a while ago. So,
Well, we didn't
Um,
implement MTSS in the high school until more recently. Like, that's not where we started implementing it. We started that in elementary. And that was quite a few years ago. So I'm thinking
right.
MTSS didn't even hit high school until the last couple of years, am I right?
Yeah, last 2 years, and then
Yeah, that's
having
what I thought.
someone take the bull by the horns to drive that. I mean, think about the principal and administrators I know are doing their daily work, and then this person is focused on instruction. They're focused on the data, they're focused on pulling that information and helping guide those conversations, and then going into work specifically with teachers and leading those conversations.
All right, but if MTSS was, we'll say, 8 years ago, was implemented 8 years ago, and it was implemented in
Hartford or
4th or
Marlboro?
5th grade, well, 4th or 5th grade, 8 years ago, those kids are now seniors.
Seniors, yeah.
Okay, if we had the supports there at the high school then, when they were first entering in, because it's like, we're entering a new batch in. If we've got kids coming out of junior high, middle school, and they have issues, and we're not tracking that through MTSS, we need that early warning system essentially. I was introduced to MTSS tracking 20 years ago down in Pottsgrove when I was down there. And if we'd been able to follow through with that, we'd have that consistent tracking of the kids all the way
Well,
through.
this gives us that. This
Yes, and
gives us
this
that starting
will help with
now.
that.
Yeah.
What do you mean issues, with,
Well,
you said MTSS?
MTSS, when I was first introduced to it when I was on Pottsgrove School District years ago, they were starting it with the elementary schools. And what that does is it gives you a snapshot, and I may not be explaining this in the best educational way, but this is my understanding of it. It's giving you a snapshot of what that kid is doing each year. How's he doing on reading, math, and it's listing the areas that he's having issues with. Oh, this kid cannot read and understand the story, but he can read well. He may not be pulling away the concepts, or during math, he can do addition and subtraction, but he can't do word problems. And this is the type of tracking that MTSS is supposed to be giving us. And it's supposed to provide you that
The extra
eyesight
supports.
into it to see where he needs supports, where he can go back. They can go back and look at the lesson plans for the year and say, guess what? 3rd month of the year when they were covering this, he had issues here, here, and here, so let's go back and reinforce that. Dr. Roche may or may not be able to say whether I did a good explanation of that, basic explanation of it.
How long has Upland Park been using MTSS?
Before I got here, so it's
Yeah.
definitely
Oh,
5 years
only
ago.
about-
It only
Only about
started,
6 or 7
so-
But I don't think it really,
I would say, like-
there was definitely some resistance from what I was being told,
Mhm.
as if this was a new made-up concept.
Oh, yeah,
People push back,
okay.
and then I think it has taken hold,
They realized
K
the
to 12
minutes.
and the expectations and the ongoing piece, and then from the elementary going all the way up. So it's definitely been the last, coming out of COVID, 3 years or so, that's really dug in and have the expectations, the forms, and following through.
So you think since COVID, so 4 years?
I mean, it was, my first
That
year
was-
was
I'm
messed up
17.
because of COVID.
I'm
So-
thinking that the first time, that my first year on the board in 2017,
Mhm.
sounds like so long ago, that was when, if it wasn't the first year, it was the second year. Like, it wasn't, it was early,
And so it was
Early
only in
times.
the elementary and middle?
elementary first.
Just in elementary?
2 elementary, yeah, again,
I'm
when it
thinking-
first started, Marlboro and Hereford were K to 5.
Yes.
So
Oh,
in
sure.
1920, when 4 or 5 split out, and then COVID hit, and then we started virtual and then hybrid. So 21, 22 was, I think, really when it took its seed and started to grow. Yes, more on elementary. And the common, as it has moved its way up through the middle and through the high school, they're definitely a little behind on the elementary. But the elementary structure of the day is structured more so for that kind of conversation with less teachers in terms of how many teachers a student has, and then their structure points of their common time.
Yeah.
But I think, Keith, what I thought you were about to say is that the issue, and I think the principals share this at EPS with you, this is a systemic K-12. Like, it's not just the high school's challenge, right? The kids that are coming up, it's our whole district. So as they continue to get stronger and that continues to build, that's the point of that. It doesn't quote unquote get fixed. It's a course over time.
And
Yes.
it's tracking reading and math, that's it.
And then behavioral, I mean, there's behavioral information in there. Again, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that typical 80, 15, 5 type of.
Like our TII?
Yep, that core tier 1 instruction. And then kind of the old age term of child study is kind of wrapped up in there as actually monitoring kids, but definitely fine tuning the supports, which is more challenging at a high school level where they have 7 teachers
Right.
over the course of
Big
the year
difference.
versus the 2 or 3.
That's a lot more coordinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're correct. I mean, I'm just saying that if we had the supports for MTSS, if we had the buy-in from everybody, and we were using it appropriately, this can be a great tool for us, and that is why I would be in support of this.
Does the high school already have an instructional coach
No.
in-house?
No, this
No.
was, no, they don't.
Just the TLS?
Yeah, just for the cohorts when they come in.
So the TLS is instructional coaching, they do go to the high school, yes?
The TLS is, they have, yes, teachers are in cohorts, so as they're worked on. So TLS is very specific to a set of strategies and skills. It's not general instructional coaching. But yeah, no, this is through the ESSER money, this was the instructional coach / focused on the MTSS that had not been there prior to last year at the high school.
Okay.
So that's part of that TSI piece and that push to get the concerted effort to talk on the data.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Any questions?
I mean, we still get to look over this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no decisions tonight.
No, that's helpful.
The
I
question is-
just wanted to talk about it because it's a big chunk.
Yeah,
It's a
I
big
mean,
chunk in total. It's a
And
big
these
chunk.
are like representing
Mhm.
the sort of extras that we want. I mean, I think the ones, if they're compliance issues, that's not really a want. But.
Well, we had wants for nurses for a long time that we didn't
So we
comply.
just
Yeah,
went,
I'll say that out loud.
we lived our happy lives not
Going
being
on
in
for-
compliance
yeah.
there, okay?
Yep.
So essentially what this
Cool.
boils down to is we're adding 11 positions essentially at roughly a cost of $110,000, $105,000 each.
Sorry, say what you were saying again.
So essentially, I mean, we have actually 12 people here, but the 12th is only a part-time 15-minute.
Yeah,
So we have
So that
11.
105 equals 67 something as a salary, and then all the
Plus
rest
the
of the
benefits.
benefits.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the nurses I think is super important. I've personally sort of wondered why there weren't more, and 40,000 new seems like, okay,
That's
that
doable,
one
yeah.
sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was the part we hadn't talked about.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but we didn't talk about it, so I just figured I'd
Yeah.
throw it out there today, since this is our finance committee, so.
What's the special education supervisor, has this request been made previously? Or is this the first time showing up here?
I mean, it's been discussed, it hasn't been on this table. I think
Okay.
in when did COVID start?
2020 at the end?
2020, because Amy Coyle was a new special ed supervisor that year. Her first day was shut down COVID. That's why I remember it.
That's right.
Her first day was shut down COVID.
right.
So prior to, let's say, March of 2020, it was Dr. Farina as the director of assistant superintendent with pupil services, and then Carol as the assistant director of special education. There was a kind of a flip from when I came in for those duties. So that department had 2 at that point.
Okay.
Carol handling the special ed side, and the board did support adding a supervisor at that point, so March of 2020 was when Amy started,
Yeah.
so.
I guess it's hard from my perspective to know why the request is here. Like, I literally don't know their day-to-day, like, what would be alleviated. And,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, they're requesting it, so it's obviously important. but
Yeah, no, I mean, in
I'm
terms
kind
of.
of curious, do the numbers support it? Is there a bigger caseload? Is there,
Yeah, I mean,
like, what, is there another building that is not getting addressed like it should? I kind of,
yeah,
I
right,
would.
like right now, you have two people, you have Mrs. Giblin and Mrs. Coyle that are overseeing, what's 19% of what we have in terms of the number of students, across 5 buildings, and then it's not just our buildings.
600 kids.
It's all of the out-of-district placements that we're responsible for as well. So that's a lot of Mrs. Coyle's work, is the work that's outside. So half her day, every day, is for students that aren't with us for placements and that type of thing. That's less work that's going on inside. So again, it's a lot of compliance, it's IEP writing, it's part of that settlement piece when we think something's exposed or not followed up on. And then it's just simply the needs, and as I'll just share with you in the board update, now students are staying until 22, actually, that's now changed back.
Back
Was
to
it-
21.
No, it's back to 22 as of today.
Yeah.
There's a
they
stay issue.
reversed.
You'll see in this Friday's update.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
it's
Wait,
reversed.
they
I was like, oh,
changed
good.
it.
On the 5th, on the
Reversed it, changed
16th,
it
on the
back. Changed it back.
16th, they went from 22 to 21. This morning, they changed the stay back to 22.
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I didn't.
No, you didn't,
Okay.
it just literally came out today.
It's right on top of that.
Um,
I missed it.
You know, so the needs are there. If you want, I mean, if that's one you want more information, I'm happy to get that. I can get a write-up from Dr. Farina to justify that, sure.
I would like to see.
Sure.
Well, no, I mean, just to give you some history that none of them did, because I was here longer. So when I first got on the board, there was a lot of issues as far as settlements.
As far
A lot.
as?
Settlements,
Special ed
yeah,
settlements.
a lot of them. In my opinion, it's a lot less now. And we also had, which you wouldn't know if you weren't here, we had, Carol was here a long time ago, but then we had a parade of special ed Carols, and it wasn't her. And that did not help us.
How long did that last, the parade? How
Oh,
long
it
did the
was a
parade
long
last?
parade, let me tell you. It was at least 3
I
years,
think we
yeah.
went through 3 people in like
Okay.
3 years.
Yes,
Okay.
it was not good.
Well, wait, one person was only like 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll
It
get
wasn't-
more information on both the special ed supervisor and the maintenance supervisor. I did ask for the maintenance supervisor, I don't have access. to it.
Yeah, kind of similar questions.
Gotcha,
for-
yep, I'll get more information.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that was, the maintenance supervisor wasn't asked before, even
I
when
mean,
Doug
that,
was
I
here.
mean, that
he
building,
asked.
that district runs with, there's 6 people in the maintenance department for 5 buildings and all the fields.
Yeah.
Now, they do have people that cut the fields, but that doesn't mean they're prepping for all the outdoor contests and graduation and everything. And obviously, they work in conjunction with the custodial team, but it is a
It's a lot.
it's a thin team in
Mhm.
terms of some of the expectations. And then put rentals in there, and then you have a whole other set of expectations. So
Yeah.
I'll get those 2 write-ups. My question for you is, what do you want Mr. Bishop to share in the board update? Do you want this packet, and then include these 2 write-ups in there? Because on Thursday, it's the workshop, right? So
Yeah,
you're going to give some
I'm
update
gonna
where
give
we
an
are.
update, yeah.
But
I'm
he
gonna
has
do that.
traditionally been sharing this presentation as the next update.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, actually. I think that would be a good
Yes.
idea.
Let them see what we saw.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, maybe it'll make more sense if I mumble my way through the finance report committee.
Do you want my notes? Would these help you? I'm just kidding. All these scribbles over here.
Just in case. Oh, that's not too bad. That's why I have such the packet, so I can write on it as I went. All right, we'll just keep thinking about it, and we have another time, so
Yep.
we'll update. If anybody has any questions, they can ask them, or they can ask me, or they can ask you. We'll go from there. Okay.
And last year it was 3.6.
Okay, thank
6,
you.
yeah. I knew it was a lot.
It was a 4% millage increase, but a 3.67 tax increase.
Is that the step was negative?
That's because,
Yeah,
it was actually a loss of,
that's the only time ever. Can't even believe that. Okay.
All right.
All right.
all right, so old business, we had talked about this a few months ago. about a volunteer insurance policy. So there were two plans, Plan 1, Plan 2, that would be offered through our vendor, it's AG Administrators, who does our student accident insurance. They also have a volunteer policy on top of that. So Plan 1 is a $5,000 accident medical maximum. Plan 2 is a $25,000 medical maximum benefit that would be afforded to any volunteer that would be injured in volunteering for anything for the district. The cost is, for us, the Plan 1, which was the $5,000 benefit, would be $900. And Plan 2, which was the $25,000 medical maximum, would be $1,200. And this,
Can I just write a check for that?
I know. Thank
We
you for
accept
the
donations.
donation.
Exactly.
so I think when we talked about it last time, it was, this probably should be a full board discussion, I think is kind of where we sort of left it. But I wasn't exactly sure how to sort of make that happen. And it's been brought up to me again by an individual who was injured last year, thinks this would be a policy that we should have in place.
Yeah, you're right, we did
Fair.
drop the ball on that, sorry.
So yeah, I kind of lost track of it
I
with
did
with
too.
everything budget related, so. The only thing I would say is that, and what I should have mentioned earlier, is that I have estimates in here for our liability insurance, for like property and all that. I don't have final numbers and won't have final numbers until probably the first week in June. My hope and assumption is that those would be reduced, which is where this plan could be paid for. I would just reduce it less,
Yep.
what the cost is for this plan, if,
I can't imagine any of us are gonna say no. I mean, really.
And you're sure these things are not covered under some or other policy under, like, some stuff is covered under homeowners and it's,
well, so yeah, so this, it depends on the circumstance of the accident, but it's nothing, the district does not help cover anybody's medical bills if there's an accident.
okay.
But this would.
That cost is 900 for just us to add this to our policy.
Correct.
Annual,
And they do not have to pay anything for the
And
insurance.
they would not,
and it's annual.
it would be annual.
Yep.
Unlike, where we offer student life insurance or anything like that, have
Right,
options for
Right.
people.
yeah, so this would be paid by the district.
And it doesn't matter how many volunteers we have.
I was gonna.
It goes by student enrollment, which is where I came up with that number.
Okay.
Between 3,000 and 5,999, those are the prices I gave you. If we were under 2,999 students, it would be 450 and 600.
I don't
Okay,
see
can
how
we
we
get
can
rid of some
afford not
kids?
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think that would be money well spent.
I don't know if we have to go to full
But-
board.
So
I don't think so either.
I wouldn't think so either. The only problem is, it looks like every June we do have a motion to approve the student accident policy.
Oh,
And if this is on top of that, so it may just get thrown in with that motion too.
Get
I have no-
bundled in with it.
fine
I'm
if
fine
you
with
want
that
to
too.
do that.
I honestly, I can't imagine anyone on the board saying no. For
Because
$1,200 a year, don't cover this volunteers, when we already know we just had an
we're already paying
incident that
the
I feel bad
insurance.
about.
Yeah.
Even though the person that it happened to is just advocating for it
Oh, yeah.
in the future.
This is simply an enhancement to the insurance that we already have.
Exactly.
So, it would be informational update, I think, to the
Yeah.
full board.
I'll say something about it. I'll put in my update,
Yeah.
in my.
And what's the difference on the 900 covers how much?
5,000.
It would be 5,000, so I can give you all the details. If that's the plan that we're, is that the plan that we're looking at? Plan.
And what's the 1,200 cover?
25.
25,000.
I say we do this.
Just do 1,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just do this, okay, so there would be accident, so the medical maximum benefit would be 25,000. Accidental death benefit would be 20,000. Single dismemberment, which is usually
Okay.
a digit.
You sure you want to hear all the details?
Just, Melanie, would you write the check?
I got you covered.
That's a volunteer for
Yeah.
that
But we got you covered.
Single dismemberment, $10,000 benefit, double dismemberment, $20,000. And there would be a $100 deductible on that plan too, but there's zero deductible on plan 1.
Yeah, no, I'm still good with the 1,200.
Yeah.
I'll still write the check, it's okay.
So plan two with the 25,000.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
yes, small price to pay.
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
look at it this way,
God
if,
forbid.
if we had been sued, you know, we could have paid a lot more.
Yep.
Just in legal bills,
Yep.
fine, yeah.
And if something happens in the future,
We'll
we
be ready
could
to go.
pay a lot more.
That's what I'm thinking.
We still face that possibility no matter what happens,
Right,
even if we do get this plan.
but at least the
because-
medical part of it would, and I would feel
Just the
better
way-
if that happened, like I would feel better if somebody's medical stuff were at least taken care of. I mean, when they're doing favors for the district.
Volunteer work for the district, yeah.
And they have to meet certain criteria to be classified as a volunteer.
So they would have to be
file
on file with HR.
And I think we talked about that they do have a file, so,
We did,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah.
She did, yeah, Georgie.
I don't remember if we said that
So they want to
together or
follow
we
up
said
on
it.
ensure that we're following all the
Yep.
requisites for the
Yep.
policy.
Just make sure if somebody needed it, they would get paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah,
All right, so just a couple of informational items. Well, Dr. Roche was just talking about Mrs. Giblin. So she does, when we do have special education students that are, their needs are quite pricey, you can, it's sort of a grant, but not really a grant, write to the state for some contingency funds. So the state has these funds set aside for students that have very expensive needs. You can write and get in and attempt to get some of those funds brought back to the district. So she did write and was able to get $150,000. So that
Go
is
girl.
extra special education subsidy. So again, when we take a look at some of these line items and say, oh, why did we, you know, hopefully we didn't overspend the budget, but, you know, why do we bring in some extra revenue? Here's $150,000 of that because we cannot budget for that. And we have no idea if we'll ever get that money or if there are needs.
She typically applies every year.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
And this is for this year or next?
So it's revenue in this year
Okay,
for costs that were last year.
okay.
And there was a lot of talk at facilities, so I just kind of wanted to throw this capital reserve fund balance in there. That as of April 30th, we have almost $9.3 million sitting in that capital reserve fund, which there's a great plan to begin using that and upgrade our facilities for needs.
The
that we have.
Roach's jet.
yep, yep, not that, not that. It's for the runway. It's for my helicopter, that's what it's for. Okay,
All right, that's all I have.
perfect, thank you, and thank you. Any public comments? Nope. Okay. Any comments from the committee?
Nope.
We talked about, is there a possibility of June 10th being a better day for a meeting than the 17th? So I'm not sure you're able to do that.
Yeah, I would be able to
Okay.
do June 10th. I initially was going to be off, but I need to change some things around, so
So that
we
would
wanted to
be,
check about June 10th for the next finance committee.
That works for me.
Yeah, I think I was okay with that.
6
too.
o'clock? I mean,
Yeah,
That, yeah.
that's fine.
okay, we'll
Okay,
make
so
that
June
change.
10th.
Is that in place of the 17th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's no plans to meet
In between.
in July
No.
and August?
No,
Or
I
is the
don't
next
think
meeting
so.
August or September?
Drew, what do you suggest? Do you think we need one in
I
August?
think
or
you guys
do we
didn't meet
wait
for
till
first
September?
4 months in the
Yeah,
previous
I know.
school year.
We did skip a few
All
meetings
right,
this year,
let's
so.
skip the August one then,
Yeah,
unless we
that's
have
It's
any.
gonna
pushback.
go
Go to
until
September.
September.
So that's September, we just roughly think about it.
I mean, I like hanging out with you guys.
I know,
Um,
yeah, it's all right.
But I'm a teacher and August is.
Yeah, August would be a little
That's
nuts.
August, that's September, it's the third one, right? Is it
Yes.
Third Monday?
Yes,
So that's the 16th.
yep,
I'll be moonlighting that night, so I probably won't be here, but that's all right.
okay.
September 16th.
Oh,
We did-
wow.
We did have,
Yeah.
we did have plans for August 19th, but I don't think we can.
Yeah, we'll cancel that.
Yeah, we won't need it. Okay,
Yeah,
we will take July and August off
yeah,
from finance.
that's Monday Night Football.
Darn.
And Giselle will put that in our calendar.
Yep, we'll let
Yes.
them tomorrow.
Yep, okay,
So,
Awesome.
July and August. Great.
right.
That's,
all right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
On the motion?
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, any opposed? No. No, there's no one opposed here. I'm not opposed here. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
so much. It's nice and clear. See ya.